All right. Now, number one, we have our quadratic formula. And remember, just don't put any x's in to the formula. For A, B, and C, those are just the numbers. So x equals -7, +7, plus, minus, and again, just when you square a negative, make sure it's positive if you use your calculator. 7 times 7 is 49, minus 4 times A is 2, times C is -60. All over 2A, 2 times 2. Now this one, and it'll say this on the quiz too, and it'll be pretty much in the same order here. Rational answer. Rational in math, you think fraction. So I'm just going to grab my calculator and type it in. So we got 7, and might have been a while since you've done one of these out. We just type it in once with plus. So 7 plus second square root 49 minus 4 times 2 times -60. Now I like to hit enter after the top and then divide by the 2 times 2, which is 4. 7.5, 30 over 4 could be reduced down to 15 over 2. Either way, decimal or fraction is good. 7.5. Then go back. Hit up. The other answer comes from changing the plus to the minus. Don't forget to divide by the 2 times 2, which is 4 again, and we get -4. I'll go back to the notebook now. So we got 7.5 or -4 for that one. Now 2 says ahead of time, simplest radical. So we know we're not going to type the whole thing in. We're going to get a decimal that goes on if we do that. That won't be the exact answer. We want simplest radical. Same formula, -b, so -6 is +6, plus and minus b squared, 6 times 6 is 36, minus 4 times a is 3, times c is -13, all over 2 times 3. Now, again, we know we don't want to take that square root. All you want to do is type in what's underneath it to your calculator. And you get 192. Radical 192. Now this says simplest radical form. So you got to go through your list of perfect squares, write it out if you need to, start dividing, try to find the biggest one, and it turns out it's 64. You multiply 64 by 3 to get a 192. Now I'm going to bring that back to my answer. Taking the square root of 64, which is 8. 2 times 3 is 6 on the bottom. Now, pretty much that's the answer. But To reduce it down, we can divide those all by 2. Three plus or minus 4 radical 3 over 3. And you know, you might see that split up. You might see 3 plus 4 radical 3 over 3, 3 minus 4 radical 3 over 3. Solve with the quadratic formula, imaginary answers. All right, again, this tells you flat out ahead of time the solutions are going to be imaginary. You can't type it into the calculator, the square root anyway. It will give you an error. And this was the whole point of the imaginary numbers. Taking the square root of a negative gives you the imaginary number. After we practice the other stuff with them, sometimes it's easy to forget. It happens a lot to people. But that was the entire point of this. Underneath the radical here, when you get a negative, that's when you get imaginary answers. So we got x equals, for number 3, negative 6, positive 6, plus or minus 6 squared, 36 minus 4 times a is 10, times c is 2, all over 2a, 2 times 10. Now, like I said, all you want to do is figure out what 36 minus 4 times 10 times 2 would work out to be, because it's going to be a negative. And you get negative 44. Well, 44 isn't a perfect square, so we got to do the simplest radical form thing again. But 44, hopefully that rings a bell. 4 times 11. So that's 2y radical 11. Now I'll bring that back into my question, my solution here. And you know, again, you're basically done all the hard part. We just got to divide 6, 20, and 2 all by 2. You don't have to write those little divide by 2 things in there. I just do that to illustrate. 1i is fine. I'm just going to write I. But if you have 1 there, that's fine. Four, same idea. X equals negative b. So this time it's actually negative 4. Plus or minus b squared, 16, minus 4 times a is 4 times c is 10 all over 2 times 4. So you just calculate again the 16 minus 4 times 4 times 10, and we get negative 144. Hey, nice. 144 is a perfect square. I don't have to break it down. I can just say 12. Now, since it's negative, don't forget that's where the I comes from. Now I can divide, actually we can divide all of these by 4 this time. Negative 1 plus or minus 3i all over 2. So that's how this unit started. We started just practicing the quadratic formula. Then we practiced some simplest radical form for some of the answers. Then I showed you that the imaginary numbers come from taking the square root of a negative. Now, after that, talked about operations, like doing algebra with these. Remember, it works just like x's. In fact, most of these on here, at least out of the first few on this page, you could have done without having ever learned. about imaginary numbers. It's just combining like terms. Once you get to the higher powers, I to the first is I, we knew that. I squared, that's -1. I cubed is -I. I to the fourth is positive. So for 5, just combining like terms. Well, we'll put all the i's together. 8 minus 5 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7i. And I mean, you can write it then plus 4. That's okay. I won't take off of that. Multiple choice questions, if there was a Regents, the 4 would be first. Technically, it's supposed to have the real number, the 4, then the imaginary part with the 7i. On 6, we're distributing the minus. So that becomes -2, but then plus 7i. 6 minus 2 is 4. -1i plus 7i is 6i. Seven. Nope. Binomial squared, I got to write it out twice. We get 9 plus 21i plus another 21i plus 49 I squared. Remember, on the key that I just wrote up further there, I squared is -1. This is the one that pops up the most. That'll just make that plus 49 minus 49. So we got 9 minus 49 is -40. 21 plus 21, 42i. Oh, on 8, we got a lot of single distribution here. On 8, we got a bit of single distribution to do. So negative times negative, positive 12, plus 16i, minus 7i, minus 5i squared. But again, the I squared, that's -1. So that's going to switch that minus sign to a plus. 12 plus 5, 17. 16 minus 7, 9i. Tomorrow's quiz will be pretty similar to this too. Hopefully this isn't too bad. Now 9, we distribute the minus, -1, -6. 4 minus 1, 3. 2 minus 6, -4i. 10, write it out twice again. +1, minus 5i, minus 5i again, plus 25i squared. That I squared is -1, which will switch that to minus 25. 1 minus 25 is -24. Minus 10. -11. Negative times negative, that'll be positive 36i plus another double negative 48i squared. We'll drop that 30i down. 48i squared. I squared is -1, so that becomes -48. And then the others are purely imaginary, so we got 66i. 12 has some of the higher power of I stuff. We said divide by 4. If you do that, you will get 4 goes into 23 5 times. You'll get 5.75 if you do that on your calculator. So I to the 23rd, 75 cents is 3/4, 3/4. So that's like I cubed. Up on our key, I cubed is negative I. And I to the 20th, five. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Hope I didn't have to write that down for you, but there's no remainder. It's a multiple of 4. And I to the 4th is 1. So that's just I to the 4th times 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 I to the 4th. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. Just 1. Doesn't do anything. Anything that's a multiple of 4, any power that's a multiple of 4, you just get 1 for that I. So we got 2i plus 10, that double negative plus 6i minus 5. 10 minus 5 is 5. 2i plus 6i is 8i. Now on 13, we got I to the 37. You divide 37 by 4, goes in 9 times. You get 9.25, so that's 1/4. So that's just I to the first. Oh, 14. It goes in 3 times with a remainder of 0.5. So that's 2/4. So it's like I squared. And I squared is negative 1. Minus 5 times negative 1 will change that to plus 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. 6 minus 7, negative 1. You can write 1i, you can just write I. Doesn't matter. I believe the pledge will be coming on here in a minute, so just we'll have to be quiet if it turns on. Sorry about that.
Good morning, everyone. According to our friendly fact finder, Mr. Weiser, today is National Poem and Pocket Day. During National Poetry Month in April, National Poem in Your
All right, well, I'm just going to talk over this. Now, on 14, again, remember, the whole point of this, like, imaginary and complex number system is it's the square root of negatives. So we got 10 minus 5i. Square root of 100 is 10. Put an I on it. It's not minus 10. That negative inside the radical doesn't make it minus 10. It makes it 10i. So we got 10. Negative 5 plus 10 is 5i. Now on 15, radical 25 squared root of 25 is 5. Put an I on it. Drop these down. Square root of 36 is 6. Put an I on it. Drop the 5 down. Add up your i's. 5 plus 4 is 9 plus 6, 15i. Gonna have that go second. Positive 15i. And then negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. The quiz will be just about the exact same thing as that. I'm going to change the numbers, but it'll be the same kind of question in the same order.